because this is a whole different arena. And what you're going to talk to us about tonight is about your own personal trauma to triumph story. And I appreciate you for doing that. It takes bravery. Like you said, you're a little nervous. Don't be. Because knowing that what you're doing is really going to help other people, that's what it's all about. That's really what it's all about. And that's what will help get you through. And we will just, just coast on through it. How far you want to go back? I'm gonna let you take the lead now. When did trauma first enter your life, Rakeda?
Trauma first entered my life when I was 3.5.
Mm.
When I was 3.5, we my parents used to, have, you always have a family member that may need a place to stay. And so my parents were like the ideal uncle and aunt and, cousin or sister, they just were very family oriented. And so whenever someone needed a place, not all the time, but they would always open up the door
Okay.
for those
Mm-hmm.
people. This one instance, there was a family member, I'll say, and out of jail, that we just met around that time.
Mm-hmm.
He improperly touched me when I was little. And back then they used to do like, how like everybody used to get together. Everybody had like the little old wooden chair that everybody used to take pictures in front of, and they used to have card games and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, my parents were young. They got married when they were, I want to say they were 20. They had me when they were 21.
Very good.
So my dad was in the Army, but he would come home on the weekends.
Okay.
And so, the family member will come over, stay sometimes. And I'll say, this time, I didn't sleep in my room. I was sleeping like in the, I must have slept on the couch this time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Must have fell asleep because sometimes I used to do that. And I never forgot that he inappropriately touched me.
Mm-hmm.
And this person was always around. And I noticed when I was 4, because I still remember things. Sorry. I still remember things even from 2.5 actually. But I noticed that my behavior, like that one touch, tainted my innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Parents had another card game. My parents, their friends always had sons. They didn't have daughters. So I was like the girly girl, and then it was always a little boy my age or whatever.
Okay.
And this time, they were in there playing cards. They used to be in there playing cards late. And I was in my room with my sister and then my mother's friend. And my sister was on the bed, my older sister. She's like 3 years older than me. So she was watching TV and we were under the bed. We weren't, having sex or anything like that, because of course we know that, but we were like rubbing on each other under the bed. And then my sister ran and told, and we got in trouble. And that was the first time from the incident that I was like, okay. I mean, I was little, of course, so I didn't know what I was doing.
Exactly.
But of course, you don't realize that spirits are powerful. And when you touch someone, people transfer spirits. And so that spirit followed me. It was so weird. After that, when I got a little older, I was in kindergarten. I always had to have a boyfriend. I'm talking about kindergarten. Ever since the incident happened, in my mind, you always had to have a boyfriend. I was at daycare. My parents were at work. My babysitter, we used to live by Magruder Park. And I left the babysitter's house. I was in kindergarten. I walked up the street, mind you, 5 years old. Walked all the way up the street to my little boyfriend's house at the time. And his mother was like, "Where's your mother?" And I was like, "Well, she's at work. I'm at my babysitter's house." And she was like, "You should go back because it's not safe." Like I had literally walked like a block and a half up the street. We lived in a good neighborhood because back then your kids could actually walk the streets. It was a very diverse neighborhood.
Okay.
But just the fact that I went there just to see him, I was too young to even comprehend a boyfriend.
Exactly.
And then as time progressed, I don't think she told on me though, because I don't remember getting in trouble for that. But as time progressed, just being in school, always had a boyfriend. I'm talking about in second grade, first kiss on the school bus. Like
Yes,
things
girl. You
that,
sound so much like me.
yeah, like things that, you know, just the games that we used to play, spin the bottle on the street,
Yep.
little kids. I'm talking about, like, if my parents knew, I'm sure they would have had a fit. But that spirit, it was almost like an alter ego. Like the spirit was tamed in the house, but as soon as I left outside the house, I was another person.
Wow. Wow.
I'm talking about uh uh my little boyfriend. I'm like third grade, just walking me down the street. And it's like, what in the world are you doing? You don't even know what a boyfriend is. But because of that spirit, I've always acted older.
Yep.
It was always like the people, my friends were my age, and I would like look at them because I'm like, they act so young. Like it's almost like I could not even, in high school, it was just really hard to look at people my age.
Right.
Let's go to fifth grade. Fifth grade, I started skipping school.
Wow.
And I was, very slick. When I did skip school, so I've always been an honor roll student. School has always been first. So it's like you do your bad stuff, but school has always been a priority. Education has always been first for me. And I remember, telling my friends, hey, let's all skip. And we would all skip. We wouldn't even be doing anything inappropriate, but everybody had a boyfriend and all of us skipped together.
Okay.
And we would just be watching TV. And the school eventually, they found out because it was too many of us that skipped. It was like four of us, four groups of us, actually, four couples. But we were just like watching TV, and one of the girls' moms came home or whatever, and she told the school, and they called the parents.
And this is fifth grade.
This is fifth grade. And all my friends, they all got, I'm going to say, I didn't get whoopings, I just got punished, but they all got whoopings for skipping school. But when they tried to reach my house, my mom, I knew her schedule, and I was like, oh, our phone is cut off. So I got away with it. So my parents never knew, and all my other friends were punished, and I was like playing outside and like, okay. But that was the first time. And then after that, I would say I moved down. I was living in Fort Meade. I moved down here to PG County. Okay. And it was like a culture shock when I did.
I bet.
Like the kids were so grown. Like,
yes.
Very grown. Like,
welcome to PG County.
PG County. I went to Suitland. So going to Suitland, I had went to Drew Freeman in middle school, and the kids were already like being intimate and all of that in like seventh grade, and I was like shocked. So coming down here, it was really different. I had a boyfriend when I came down here. Was in love with them, but I was an eighth grader. But it was something really special about him. So that's the first time that, I'll say peer pressured me, because I was like, they're like, all your other friends are, having sex. And I'm like, huh? And literally they were, though.
Wow.
Like way
and
before
seventh grade?
Me. Yes.
I guess I don't know why I'm shocked, because a lot of my friends were sexually active in seventh grade. But you know how old we are in seventh grade? 12.
Yeah, it was a lot. And so dealing with the boy I was dealing with, ended up losing my virginity. before ninth grade. Then he started acting like a stalker.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I would say my self-esteem was, it was shot. And I didn't even realize, like being younger, I didn't even realize I had low self-esteem, because as a kid, no one really has those conversations.
I was going to say, how would you even know what that meant? How would you even know how to identify it at that age?
And I didn't. I'll say later on down the line, I was able to look back and say, whoa, you had low self-esteem, because I was very shy as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So around, like, I've always had an innocent face. So my family, like, they just always looked at me, oh, she's so innocent, you know, she's an honor student, you know. I used to speak really proper. People used to make fun of me because they used to say, I guess people didn't really sound proper. They used to be like, you don't sound hood enough. So they would, make fun
of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then I would say ninth grade progresses, and I started, me and the other guy had broke up, and I started dating he was a senior football player, and I was in ninth grade.
Okay. So you had a senior while you were a ninth grader.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because for some reason, it was so weird. When I moved up here, guys and like adult guys used to talk to like little girls. Like, we would be 13 years old, and you guys like 23 trying to talk to us.
Yeah.
But the guy that I dated, he was a senior. He went to Oxon Hill, so we didn't go to the same school. Mm-hmm. But we dated pretty much the whole year. I ended up getting pregnant.
This is your ninth grade year, right?
Yeah, ninth grade year. And my parents had never, talked about sex or anything like that.
So your mom didn't know that you were sexually active?
No, because because I was so, proper in the house and honor student, and even when I used to skip school in high school, mm-hmm. I always went to homeroom, and then I would always go get my work. I would just say, oh, I was in the hall suite, and I would get my work, because education has always been important for me. My mom always said you have to get an education, and so I've always focused on education. Okay. Like, if you're going to play, get an education.
Right.
And so when they found out I was pregnant, they were like, no way. It was definitely an embarrassment, but of course, parents like, okay, we're going to drop you off, Pennsylvania Avenue, or whatever the case may be. Don't really talk to you. But I remember when I told the young guy I was dating, he was like, what are you telling me for? I'm about to go off to college and play football. Like, I'm not telling my parents. So it was one of those things, which I was devastated when he said that, because it was somebody that I was like in love with.
Right. And you didn't do it by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he was like, I'm not telling my parents. And so, of course, my parents, they just, talked to me about it. And then after that, my parents were like, oh, we're going to send you away. And back in the day, they used to have Save the Seed. I'm sure you heard of it.
Yeah.
They tried to send me there. So they tried to say, I'm taking you to Save the Seed. That was for adults with like addictions and different things like that.
I know.
And so they drove me down there, though. They tried to.
Because
it didn't work.
You were pregnant?
Well, because they said you're being wowed.
I see.
And so, that ministry was a deliverance ministry. So they're like, we're going to take you there, and you're going to stay there. But they took me there, and they were like, she's way too young, and she's not really a problem child. So they made me leave. So I was happy about that. And then after that, I, pretty much got it together, broke up with the guy I was dealing with. And then time went on. I started working. And then I was in a college-bound, upward-bound program. So I used to go to Howard University around that time, because they used to have like a Saturday college. And I went to school for business law, and I wanted to do accounting. And so I would do that on the weekends. And then after that, I would go hang out with my friends, because that was the time I got to like catch the train up like Georgia, by Georgia Avenue, and then go back around Capitol Heights around my friend's house, to hang out with them. I'll say that I didn't know back then, but I was conceited, but conceited was being a cover up for low self-esteem. So it's one of those things where I always had a mirror with me, always would be the best dressed, because my parents, they did really well. So I had the best of everything.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't really get the love I needed. And so therefore, since I was already broken, and it's like my mind was like that since I was little, they just didn't know that because, I never told.
You never told.
Yes.
Mm.
And then rewind. When I was 7, I almost forgot. When I was 7, we had a neighbor. We used to live in apartments, Prince George's Towers, and we had a neighbor. The neighbor was really cool. They had a child. It was a daughter, and I was 7, and I would say she was probably 13 or something. And I used to go over there because my parents were really close with her mom or whatever. Like her mom, she wasn't married or anything like that, so she was dealing with like different guys from time to time. But this one time I went over there, and of course I was really quiet. The girl touched me inappropriately. And mind you, I had already gone through this at 3. And so that was something that was a struggle. I thank God because he's always like covered me. But I do understand, and I've never entertained another sex or anything like that. I've never done that. But I do understand a lot of times when you're not connected to the power source, a lot of times those spirits will take hold of you if you don't have God holding you.
Yes.
And I'll say that, other people used to like me, and I used to be like, yeah, no. But I've always knew, even though I was like bad as I don't know what, because I even went through a phase going back to childhood that I used to fight all the time. And I used to wear like dresses all the time. I was a girly girl, but I used to like to fight.
Wow.
Fight boys. Used to like to fight boys. I'm talking about fight.
Where do you think that came from?
I felt like I was angry, but I couldn't be angry in a house. So when I was outside, sometimes I would fight. Like not just going to, beat up people,
What
for
do
no
you think
reason.
the source of your anger was?
Being
Were you angry with
molested.
your parents?
I feel like it was being molested, by the uncle.
Yep.
Oops. Yeah. I feel like it was that.
Yep.
Definitely feel like it was that. And I felt like, and I know it was that because later on in life, that anger, I would never let it manifest, but it was there. And I knew I needed to get deliverance from it. Because when I would get angry, it's like I feel like I'm going into a rage to hurt somebody.
Wow.
And that was because of what happened, and I guess me being mute and just being silent for so long.
Long.
Yeah. When I'll say when I got to when I got to 12th grade, was dating someone. Well, we were dating in the 11th grade. We were dating in the 12th grade. And a little bit after, I decided I wanted to move out. So in 12th grade, one day, because I was working at Macy's, I worked full-time at Macy's. And then I used to work at this other store in 12th grade. And I was like, you know what? It's time to move out.
Yeah.
And I went home. This was September, my senior year. And I was like, Mom and Dad, I'm moving out in a couple of weeks. I went to get an apartment. Like literally, I went over Southeast. And what was so crazy was I was not even from Southeast. So, but I was like, I'm going to go ahead and move over there. And it was an apartment that I can afford. And it was because I really didn't like the housing that, you know, the guy that I was dating, I didn't like his housing situation, and I would always want to help. And I was really empathetic for it, and I didn't want him living in that type of situation.
Okay.
And so my whole 12th grade year, I had my own place, went to school every day, made honor roll, graduated with a 3.59, went to worked every day,
Wow.
took care of all the, like, well, he was working, but I would say he was in the streets, because I used to like bad boys. So we were doing actually pretty good. Even though it wasn't a good way of living, he was doing pretty good. Like we were just like an older couple, like
right.
date night every weekend. Like we're just like adults.
Wow.
Had a housewarming. My parents were shocked, but they always knew I was very independent and always just was older, like always act much older than I was.
Right.
I'll say because of my self-esteem, our relationship was definitely toxic, but it was one of those like Bonnie and Clyde type relationships, like being in love.
Yep.
Yeah. We ended up getting engaged. But then he had got locked up. And
damn.
So yeah. So that didn't we still stayed together for a while. But in my mind I was like, I'm young. You know, am I gonna be able to wait?
Right. Can you do the time?
And I was like, I don't know, because sometimes I would have player characteristics. And so I'd be like, I don't know, because he was a player too, but we both loved each other. Like,
listen, it be like that sometimes.
Yeah. And so I tried,
but you couldn't do the time.
Couldn't do the time.
Okay.
And then
so that relationship dissolved. Over time.
I kind of let it dissolved eventually, but it didn't dissolve right away. But then I ended up getting pregnant with my son
while he was away.
Yeah.
Or
while he was away.
Okay.
But it was kind of like right after he was away.
Oh damn.
Yeah, like it was like right after he was away.
So but how like what did he say? How did he was he like, well damn, as soon as 2 days after I got locked up, you get pregnant?
No, because trying to do calculations, it was like 19 on 20, like trying to do calculations and stuff, like trying to monitor the thing or whatever. It was one of those things where, yeah, I told him, and he was like, oh, he was going with whatever I was saying. Because at that time me and him, as we were trying, though. That's the thing. We acted so grown, like we had always wanted to have a child because we wanted to get married. And that was one of the things, like my parents have been married my whole life. And ever since I was little, I just wanted to get married. And so in my mind, it was like, I want to be a wife.
Someone just said, was the first pregnancy terminated? I apologize. I missed that.
Yes. My parents definitely. Yeah.
Your parents was like, this is what we're
doing. Their thing was, you're going to college. We're not taking care of any babies.
Correct.
And they knew that the responsibility would be on them. So that was one of the things. It was really rough.
Yeah.
For me. And I'll say back then, they didn't do therapy and stuff.
No, therapy wasn't a big thing back then.
Yeah, definitely.
You had to be really psycho and really acting visibly crazy before you would go and get some mental health treatment back then.
Yeah, and so that was the thing. Like I had trauma after trauma, and it was just, oh, well, go to school tomorrow.
You just had to keep going.
Yeah. And so I'll say, when I got pregnant with my son, I started going to church because I had always believed in God, always believed in him since I was little, because I had a dream about him. Like I've always been a dreamer, and I dreamt when I was little that he was on the cross but he was in my window. It was raining outside, and I seen him. And ever since then, I've always, I may have not been doing right, but I always knew that he was everything.
He was everything.
Yeah, since that dream when I was little. And then I'll say my son, he really changed my life. Like, he really changed my life. Like, I definitely, in a really good way. For me, I was like, I need to get myself together. I was like, I need to, get saved. Because as a kid, we used to go to church, and my mom, when they doing altar call, you're like 10 years old and they making you go up front. And I'm like, I don't. I'm agreeing to. But when I was 21, I gave my life to God, and that was the best thing I've ever done. Like, my life changed.
It will, if it doesn't change you when you do that, there's something wrong on your insides. To hear that it changed your life is exactly what I would have expected to hear.
And it was definitely it wasn't overnight, but it was as I grew, things started to change. And then I'll say when I was 22, I had ran into a guy that went to school with me, and it's always familiar people, like you trust. You trust familiar people. And he told me his story, about his childhood and how his mom was, beat up by his dad and stuff, and how his dad tried to kill his mom. But at that time, I guess I didn't put two and two together that I needed to not maybe entertain him, because some of that trauma probably still stayed with him.
Yep.
And it was, and one time, he got mad at me. Can't remember what it was, but he was off though. Like, he'll think something and speak it and then go crazy.
Wow, like it's true.
Yeah. And he got possessed. He was possessed. Wow. And he punched me in my stomach. And my son, ran in the room. Mommy, because he heard. And he, like, moved my son out the way, like, leave your mother alone, she okay. And then he got mad, he punched the closet door. And he shattered the whole door, like his hands were like bleeding. And I was like, this guy is crazy. And I ended up stopped dealing with him. But then I had a time where it was like months later, probably like 6 months later. And he was like, oh, I changed, this and that, And I started back talking to him. And one thing I learned is, when you have a soul tie with someone, it's not as easy to break away as just saying, oh, leave that person alone because he's hitting you. Because people don't understand the forces and the demonic forces that people have connected to them, and the power that can hold you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we've all been through different things with these relationships. I fortunately have never been in a situation ever where a man would actually put his hands on me to harm me, right? And so I've always wondered, with so many of my family members and friends who have been in that situation and who have been like, okay, well, he probably won't do it again. I've always wanted to understand it, right? Like, I have my own toxicity with not physical things, but other reasons that would cause my girlfriends to say, why would you continue to go back? So I wanted to know from someone like you with that situation, why would you continue, or why would you even go back? I always imagine if a man punched me in the stomach, that would be a deal breaker for me. But you just said, you don't know what those spirits on you will do, and you be under attack from the enemy. And I needed to understand that, and I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, it's definitely, after I went through what I went through, I said, if a man ever tries to hit me again, they're going to go to Harmony. I said, nobody is ever going to touch me again. And ever since then, I stood on my word. Like,
Mm.
I stood on it, because just, my son was little, but just kind of going through that, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, you're not going to touch me.
Good for you.
Yeah. But it was hard. Because you got people, with pity parties, and I'm gonna die if you leave me alone, and all, people tell you all these crazy stories and stuff like that. And I'm just grateful that I got out of the situation, and after the last time never went back. But I'm able to be empathetic to ladies that have gone through it, because you don't know until you're going through it, the stronghold.
Until you're in that situation. Yeah.
Yes. And
I can imagine.
and
So it is a stronghold.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's definitely a stronghold. It's what you
Wow.
can't see. And people call people, oh, she's dumb, she's stupid. But until you have a soul tie with somebody that is demonic, that is like pulling on you, you can't really say that, because there's forces that you can't see that are against you.
Yeah. I'm believing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I believe all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then, yep. And then after that, that ends the trauma for the early 20s. And then after that, I went to therapy. I started getting involved in the church really heavily. And that really helped me. Like, that made me blossom. I ended
It'll
up,
change your life, won't it? It changes your life.
it definitely did. When I was 25, I brought my first condo. And then after that, when I was 26, I was headed to work. I used to work for a law firm, and that day I decided to park at Congress Heights Metro.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I used to park at Southern Avenue, but this day I decided to park at Congress Heights because my best friend lived on Savannah Street, which was like right next to the Metro.
Okay.
And as I was walking up the street, I had just parked my car. There were two young guys that were sitting on the side of the apartments. And I looked at them and I didn't think anything of it. And so I get a little bit up on them, not on them, but like about to walk past them. Mm-hmm. And the guy pulled out his gun and he was like, come with me. And he was like, give me your keys. He took my keys, took my purse. It was two guys. I called one the leader and one the follower. And so in my mind, I'm in shock, but I have a peace that only I knew God, that only God could give me. And so they're like, take us to your house. So we get in my car. They put me in the back seat. One guy's up front, another guy's in the back with me. He was talking about my house, but then he just started asking me, this is when we're in the car before we're about to pull off. So he's asking like what area I lived in, because I guess, they were about to start driving. Because they ended up taking me down Stanton Road to get on Suitland Parkway that way. Uh-huh. So while we're driving, he was like, who do you know with like Xboxes, and just, asking me different questions. And I was like, I don't know anybody with those. And he was like, okay, so where do your parents live, right? So he was asking me where I live and where my parents live. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, my parents don't live in the area, but I lied. Because in my head, I said, I'm spiritually strong enough and grounded that whatever I'm about to go through, I'll be able to get through it. But because of my, parents, I mean, they believe in God, but they weren't really where I was.
Right.
I wouldn't want to sacrifice them or take them through that trauma. And so I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, I'd rather sacrifice my life than my parents. And
That's right.
so,
Mm.
because I knew I could get through it.
Yeah.
And so we get in the
Wow.
car and we're riding. And the guy was like, they were only 18 years old, both of the guys. The guy in the back, after I told him where I lived, they already knew the direction because I lived in Forestville. And so the guy in the back seat was like, can you give me, I'll say, fellatio. And I was like, And so he didn't really make me do it, but I guess he wanted me to touch it or whatever, which was gross. And so I did it for 1 second, and then it was kind of get up off the exit from Suitland Parkway. And so we're going down the street by my house, down there toward Hillmar Drive. And so he tells me before we pull up, I'm going to let you know, if you make any type of scene when we get out this car, you're dead.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything. And so we walk into my building and we get in my building. The follower goes in the kitchen and he starts ransacking the kitchen, going through cabinets and stuff. I guess they're used to watching movies. I don't know. But they were going through like the cabinets looking for, I guess, money and things, They were just going through the whole kitchen. And then the follower was like, go in the room. And so as the leader was in the kitchen going through stuff, the follower, he had a gun. He was like, let me take out a condom. And so he kissed me on my neck, which was gross. And then he raped me. And that was, it might have been like 2.5 minutes or something. It was really quick, but it was just gross. And then he left out, he threw the condom on the floor. The other one came in the back. He had his gun. And I stood in front of him because he told me stand in front of him. He was sitting on my bed. He put his gun in his hand and said, if this gets back to the police, I'm going to come back to your house. I know where you live. Stick this gun up you and kill you that way. Right? And so I was like, okay, not going to say nothing. And so he takes out a condom. And he does it. Probably like 2.5 minutes. Maybe 2 minutes. And then he was like, he threw the condom. I had my ironing board up. He threw it on the ironing board. And he was like, you can go wash up. We're about to leave out. And so I went to go wash up. Mind you, it was just peace over me because it was a lot. They said, we're going to go to the ATM. And so they tried to take me to the ATM on Marlboro Pike, the Bank of America, but he almost got in an accident with my car, driving crazy. And so he decided to just speed past the bank and get on Suitland Parkway and take me to Iverson Mall. We went to the Bank of America at Iverson Mall. When we got to the Bank of America at Iverson Mall, the follower got out the car and was acting like he was my boyfriend, walked with me to the ATM machine. When we got to the ATM machine, I was only able to take $700 out. And as we were walking, the guy was just saying, like, pretty much, we've never met anybody like you. Like, I was talking to them as I'm talking to you. Just like nothing, after everything they did to me, I was just talking to them. So we left there, and they were like, well, the guy was like, since we couldn't get everything we needed, let's go to the liquor store on 23rd Parkway. So we get to the liquor store. The leader stayed in the car. The follower got out the car, and he was like, I'm very sorry for what I did to you. He said, this is what we do to survive. My mom just passed away, and we're burying her on Monday. And so he gave me that earful as we were walking in, and they used my ATM card to get whatever they was getting. Don't remember what they got. And then we got back in the car, and then we went to off of Suitland Parkway, off Alabama Avenue. It's like the New York Fried Chicken and some like convenience store where you can get like phones and stuff. And so we went in that store, and they brought burner phones. They said, if we get phones out of this store, we'll give you your phones back. And so when we got in the store, the phones were probably like $400, whatever they got. And then they gave me my phone back. So we left out of there. Every place that we went to had camera footage. The liquor store, the ATM, and the convenience store. So he asked me, where did I want to get dropped off at? I said Southern Avenue Metro Station. So we get to Southern Avenue Metro Station, and the follower, they gave me my purse. They told me, they said, you can meet us. Well, not meet us, but they said you can come to the alley around Savannah Place at 6 o'clock and get your car from the alley. Your key is going to be underneath the tire. And I was like, okay. The follower got out the car. He asked me for a hug. And I said to myself as I was walking up the street, I was like, if they've never experienced God's spirit, I'm sorry.
And no, baby, it's okay. This is a lot. I'm so proud of you for going through this. Take your time. I'm telling you, this is a lot. Oh my goodness.
If they've never experienced God's love, they experience it through me.
That's deep. That's so deep.
I talk to them with respect. After everything they did, I didn't look at them any different. I felt sorry for them because I knew it was the spirit that dwells within them.
Oh my God.
And so I was empathetic, even though I was a victim. But I'll say I never took on the victim. Every, I'll say, I got to the Metro. I got on the phone. I called my job first. And my boss was like, you crazy. Because I told her, I said, I'm calling to tell you I'm not coming to work today. And I told her what happened. She was like, why are you talking to me? Call the police. Right. But I was one of those employees. I'm a single mom. I need to.
We don't play about our job.
And so I ended up calling the police. And since it was an interstate case, it was like all hands on deck. So right. The investigator met me at the Metro, and we retraced my steps. And I have a photographic memory, so I don't really forget anything. Like, I take pictures of everything in my head, and I just don't forget it. And so we retraced the steps everywhere. We went back to my place first, because he wanted to get the evidence stuff together.
Right.
so we got he got all the evidence stuff together. When I was with him, you know, bagged up everything. It was DNA and stuff everywhere because they still had semen in the condoms. Everything was, it was fingerprints. It was just stuff everywhere. It was almost like a detective in a candy store. So when we left there, we went back. We followed the trail. As we followed the trail, we got camera footage from everywhere. It, like, this whole story, it was nothing but God. So as we got the footage, we got it from all the places. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to take you to the hospital. So we went to the PG hospital rape unit and to do a rape kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I called my bishop from church. And he came up there. And Bishop said, what you went through is not for you, it's for someone else. He said, God knew you were going to be strong enough to get through it, to give him the glory and to help other people to get through it. He just used you as a vessel. And he said, mark my word, he said by Wednesday, they will both be in custody because God said it. And he also said, your story is going to be, well, my story was all over the news, all over the newspaper. And he was like, it's going to touch so many people. They're not going to be able to sleep until they're caught. I had at least 20 detectives working on my case. Like, between DC and Maryland, what God said came to pass. Nobody had sleep. And he said, and God had you shielded. So if they did have anything, you were covered. And so not only did God have me shielded, but just how he moved. So after I left the hospital, I went to the police department. When I got to the police department, I met my detective, my lady detective, Detective Prince. And she was a prophet. And so I wrote down everything. Like, it's crazy. I remembered everything. I remembered every mark, everything. Like, the way that they drew them, that's the way they looked. Every tattoo, it was just things that I shouldn't have remembered that I remembered. And she went home. The detective went home, went to sleep, and drank the homegoing service for the guy's mother. So she woke up and called me and said, I'm going to dress up as the receptionist and I'm going to the funeral home. It was a funeral home on Pennsylvania Avenue because that's the one that people, when they don't have insurance, they get buried at by the police department on Pennsylvania Avenue, right there. The old, I don't know if it was the old Marshalls or whatever that is. But she went there, act like she worked there. And when a guy came in there, she locked him up at his mother's service. And I was like, wow. Everything that God said came to pass. And yeah, everything that he said came to pass. And then so that guy was caught. And then by Wednesday, the other guy was caught. The leader was caught.
Wow, Rakeda. So this story was on the news.
It was on the news. I have articles. I've
Girl, you was raped by two young men in the same day, and you handled it like a woman of the Bible would. Like, it gives me like you are some sort of, I don't know.
And that's what my bishop would say. He was like, you're very favored. And he told me, right after that, I went to church. This happened on Friday. I went to church on Sunday because I never missed church. So even when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, I never not going to church because I'm like, God is going to fix me, you know. I went to church that Sunday, and as I praised God for my life, because I wasn't supposed to be here, because I know other people that didn't make it through that, because I knew that's what the guys did, and they weren't really going to leave no bodies behind, but because of God's grace, he wouldn't allow them to kill me. So at church, as I was praying,
no.
As I was praising God, there was and I didn't even know about this, but there was a lady, she's called a conduit. And so everything that came up off of me from the guys, the spirits and all the darkness, and it was just nothing but blackness, went on her, and she was screaming for her life. And that's what I would have did if God didn't have his covering over me.
Yeah.
And she said all she seen was the guys just wanted to kill her, but they couldn't. It was like they were blocked. And ever since then, I've been grounded in God. I'm like, everybody has to have their own experience to get them together and to trust. After that, I've never turned my back on God. Like when I say I trust him like walking on the tightrope at the circus, that little thing. I know that he has me.
You trust him like that.
I trust him like that.
Yes. Because he's shown you
me
in real life.
Yes.
His covering.
Yes.
And his covering will cover you in any situation. If God says it's not your turn,
it's not.
It ain't your turn. And I don't care what the situation is. If he covering you, you will make it through.
Yeah.
Like you did. Yeah. We got 10 minutes, and this is so good. This is so good. He used you, Rakeda, and you allowed him. You knew it, though.
Yep.
That's the key, y'all. We got to know who we belong to. And then when we get in situations, and this goes for me too, when we get in situations that we just can't imagine how we're going to make it through, no matter what it is, if we know and we believe what he said in his word about who we are to him, what the enemy going to do? They ain't going to do but so much. God got me. Amen. So, okay. The enemy do what they do. God allows certain things because that's the only way he would have been able to use you. If he didn't let you go through that, he protected you. We see you today. Yes. But if he didn't allow you to go through that, two things. Those young men wouldn't have been able to see God through you, and you wouldn't have been able to tell your testimony to help other people.
Amen. And I wrote them a poem and read it in court. They got 90 years each. And I wrote them a poem. It's in my book, A Silent Kiss, called You Are Forgiven. And I read it to them and had the whole courtroom crying.
Your testimony is so powerful. Please don't you ever forget that. I'm so glad you wrote it in your book. I don't mind helping you promote that book, whatever it is that I can help you do to get your story out there to help and heal many, many more people. I guarantee you there's somebody on here tonight who you have really, really touched them in a mighty way. I guarantee it. I'm just saying at least one. It might be more than one, but I know it's at least one. And if there's anything that I can do to help you along your journey, to continue to get your story to heal other people. What was the name of the book again? Someone's asking.
It's A Silent Kiss, Spiritual Wisdom and Poems.
I'll make sure too that I will put this on my Trauma to Triumph page, you all. I think you've posted it yourself, Rakeda. I'll repost it. Okay. I'll reshare it so that all of you who have participated in tonight's episode, you all can support her, get her book, read her story in depth. If you know someone who has been a victim of sexual assault, rape, whatever it is, date rape, whatever it is, get the book for them or recommend it to them. Okay, can I put it in my bio? I sure will. I'll do that. Yep, they want your contact information. This
Okay.
is what this is about. I
Thank you.
wanted you to share your story, one. Two, I wanted people to connect with you. And I wanted people who can relate to what you've gone through, who have kept it to themselves for so long, to know that they are not alone.
Amen.
They're not alone. You
Definitely.
got a woman like Rakeda who took it for you. You did. You was like, I ain't gonna tell them where my parents live. My parents can't handle this. I know God got me. So whatever it is they about to do to me, okay, let's go. Because enemy, you will not win over me. And you
Amen.
stood 10 toes down.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Girl.
And I never cried until I seen it on the news, but I didn't cry. I did not
Ooh.
cry.
Everyone is asking for your information. So what I'm gonna do, you all, when I post this episode tonight, I'm gonna make sure that Rakeda's information is in my caption, and I'm gonna tag all of her pages so that you all can also find her and follow her, and you can DM her, reach out to her directly. Okay, I'm gonna do that
Thank you so much.
once I post all of this, and I may not get that all done tonight, so y'all don't be on my case now, but I promise you I will make sure I get all of that posted. I promise. Let me see. Someone says Terry started following you as of yesterday. Look at why for this. Oh wow, God, listen. What I went through yesterday is for a reason too. So it's all going to be used for the glory of God. The things that He allows us to go through, no weapon formed against us is going to prosper. The weapons will be formed, they coming.
But they won't
We got to know that.
prosper.
But I've learned in my own life, Rakeda, as your example as well, He can't use those of us who've not gone through anything.
Exactly.
He chooses the most unlikely people, the
Mm-hmm.
people who've gone through rape, molestation,
Mm-hmm.
gone through prison, gone through all kinds of stuff. He uses people who have done bad things. You never know. He may use
Mm-hmm.
those two young men, one or the other or both. He may end up using them one day too.
Yes. Amen.
He will use anybody to show how magical he really is.
Amen. Yes, he does.
And I thank God for you. I thank God
And God for
for
you too. Thank
I
you.
thank God for you knowing who you are and knowing who you were so early in life to allow you to endure something like that and tell your story to hopefully help others.
Amen.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, girl. Tell us something you nervous. Look at you. Look at you. You've been with me for a whole hour and listen, we could probably go for a whole nother hour if I could, because look how easily you done flowed right into it.
Amen.
Aren't you proud of yourself? You
Very
should
proud.
be.
Yeah.